Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 10 of season 2 of Star Wars Rebels called A Princess on Lothal. And sorry this review's going up a bit late. I kind of forgot that the show was coming back this week. Um, yeah, with so many shows coming back this week, I guess I should have probably realized that, but stuff happens. Anyway, so of course, as the title implies, the big thing for this episode is guest starring Princess Leia, which is pretty darn cool. And I have to say, it's a nice interpretation of Leia's character, and kind of an interesting to see her before about. This is still about 4 years before we see her in A New Hope. She's like about 15 years old, I believe here. So it's sort of interesting to see a younger, still very, very competent Leia, but still not obviously not quite as experienced Leia. And seeing her interact with the crew was of the Ghost and all that. I mean, that was really interesting stuff. And there were definitely a lot of situations where it was like, well, it'd be kind of cool if she could, sort of hang around for a little while. Like once she saw Ezra, for example, using his force powers, I was kind of like, well, okay, is she gonna realize he's a Jedi? I mean, is she gonna realize Kanan is? I mean, I guess with him running around with his lightsaber this episode, she must have figured it out. But if that's the case, I mean, wouldn't it be interesting if there was like a moment where she took some time to ask him, like, well, hey, did you know Obi-Wan Kenobi? But of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi is not somebody that is going to really become important for her until a few years down the line. But still, given that Bail Organa is the one who personally helped Yoda escape the Jedi Temple, and he saw stormtroopers murder a Padawan right in front of him, well, you have to wonder what did he, and that he was good friends with Padme. Well, what did Bail tell Leia about the Jedi growing up? I mean, I'd love to know that. But anyway, let's kind of get into some stuff and talk about things in a little bit more detail. Some cool stuff here. As I said, I really do like this interpretation of Leia, and there are definitely a lot of little nods to where we're going to be seeing her when this story in the movies picks up. We see her, for example, in this episode, just like she does in A New Hope, grab a blaster and start gunning down stormtroopers. We also see her get stunned this episode, and I was actually kind of wondering if they aren't going to have her like wake up and go like, "Oh wow, I have this terrible headache. I hope I never have to feel that way again." But that might have been laying it on just a little bit too thick. And she comes to Lothal on what she basically says is this, you know, charity mercy mission. And when Darth Vader grabs her in the first episode, he says something along the lines of like, "Well, hey, you're not going to be able to get away with pretending that you're on some mercy mission now. This time, princess." And that whole thing, like pretending that she's on the like there at the time, she was pretending she was on a diplomatic mission, if I remember right. But details. But one thing I really loved in this episode was those ships she brings. Those look exactly like the Hammerhead ships from the Knights of the Old Republic games. Now, granted, technology in Star Wars is rather static. They don't really make a huge amount of progress over the course of thousands of years, and sadly, the whole Knights of the Old Republic time stuff and Star Wars: The Old Republic is now pushed off into the Legends timeline. But given what we've seen in the trailer for the rest of season 2, it looks like the show has kind of gotten the okay to sort of like, okay, you can sort of start dipping into that stuff a little bit, and that's cool. Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars: The Old Republic is like some of the absolute best Star Wars stuff that is not currently canon. I mean, I play Star Wars: The Old Republic myself. I've been playing it since launch, and I love the game. Got its flaws, but in terms of story and lore and like really interesting ideas, there's a lot of cool stuff there. And the old expanded universe, well, it had its share of garbage, no doubt about it. But there was also a lot of really great, really fascinating stuff there. But anywho, so it was definitely nice to see at least some nods to Knights of the Old Republic worked in. I'm still hoping against hope that my absolute favorite Star Wars character, Zane Carrick, who has unfortunately been resigned to the Legends universe, if they can't find some way to get a reference into him into there somewhere, but admittedly that's a long shot. And for the record, he was actually the main character in the Knights of the Old Republic comics, which really good stuff. I love Knights of the Old Republic comics. But anyway, kind of getting back on track now. So we get to see Leia, doing a lot of stuff that really kind of calls forward to her, where she will be in the movies. But I also really like that stuff with her kind of interacting with Ezra as a peer. I kind of like how it was pointed out, like, hey, he's been through this. He's about the same age as you. Maybe he would be, maybe you would do a better job of connecting to him in this situation. And Leia goes in there, and that's what she does. She does get a pretty good read on Ezra very quickly, and she's able to find the right words to get him out of his funk, which makes sense. I mean, since she's basically a trained diplomat. I mean, she's raised by Bail Organa, and that's even what her job was. That she was a senator from Alderaan, even though she was only like 19 in the movies at the time. She's been so basically since she was a kid, she was trained to be this sort of person. And in the old Legends EU and such, it even said that she had some military training was arranged for her by Bail, which explains why she knows her way around a blaster so darn well. So yeah, I mean, cool stuff there. And of course, we get to see Leia being a very smart, very charismatic person. She's the one who really, when everybody on the ship is down in this funk as well, is like, okay. And I really hate that she trots out this whole military chest. It's like, don't tell me why you can't do that. Tell me how you're going to do that. And there is some wisdom in that thinking, but sometimes people who are involved in military situations like that say, we can't do that for very good reasons. Like, that's just not going to work. It's not possible. So you can't always just sort of do your best through it like it's some sort of overly optimistic anime or something like that. But okay, details. Now, what I also really liked is they had the Imperial guy. I believe his name was List. He's presented as being quite a lot more competent than your average Imperial, which is always nice. I love it when the Empire is shown to be very competent. I mean, you still want the heroes to win at the end, but they can't win every single time, and you can't always make the Empire look like a bunch of chumps, because otherwise, then, well, how the hell are these people in control of a galaxy if these jokers can make them look like fools day in and day out? So, I mean, it's always that careful balance of you want the heroes to succeed, but on the other hand, you can never really let it go that, hey, the Empire is ridiculously dangerous, and all it's going to take is one misstep for everything to come crashing down around people's heads. I mean, one of my big criticisms of this season so far is really just how much time they spent making Seventh Sister and Fifth Brother appear dangerous some of the time, but most of the time they seem like a bunch of idiots. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. Nothing particular to say about the governor guy, sort of, and his 180 on all that. But getting back to what I was saying about the Imperials, I really did like how, again, they were presented as being really competent. That whole situation with the walkers being brought in, that was like, oh, crud. And I like how the heroes do genuinely turn the tables. This feels like a victory that was earned. Now, granted, the sort of loose ends of like, okay, everything's all tidied up so that Princess Leia is going to be totally blameless in this. It seemed like a little too neat and tidy for my tastes, but okay. I mean, this is only like a 22-minute show, so you gotta let some things slide. Um, Also, definitely really like that scene where Kanan breaks out his lightsaber and goes to town. That was that was some sweet stuff, and I love the stormtrooper's reaction to it. It's like, I don't think he's on our side. Like, oh wow, no kidding. You'd think these guys probably would have heard a little bit about there being a Jedi running around on Lothal. I mean, Kanan's been waving that lightsaber around more than a few times on this planet, but details. Ba 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 ba. Oh yeah, definitely very funny to watch Zeb get to punch Ezra and Kanan. That was good stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, while this episode was a little too neat and tidy with the storyline, it definitely did have a lot of great stuff going for it. The Empire was presented as very competent, very serious threat, but the heroes do manage to turn it around, so this seems like a hard fought but well deserved victory. Really nice interpretation of a younger Princess Leia as a character. She went out there, really strutted her stuff, but she didn't take away from the show's main characters and make them seem less. She seemed like somebody who came in there and, like, yeah, she was quite easily their equal. And that also felt earned, which, I mean, great. I mean, that's good writing. You really can't ask for much more in situations like this. And you heard me gushing about how just that little nod to the old Star Wars expanded universe, how happy that made me. So yeah, I mean, not the most mind-blowing episode ever, but certainly a very fun, very entertaining episode, and I have no serious complaints. So, with that said, everybody, I'm going to call it here. As always, please join me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. You can also find me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer. And until next time, take care and have a good one.